Well, hello, hello, hello. Hope you guys. I didn't give much notice for today's live, so I'm going to have to give you guys a minute or so to log on. I have been absent the last 2 weeks, the last 2 Mondays, due to the holidays and other personal events. But I'm hoping that I'll have a few of you on the live show today, or at least I know I'll see some of you guys in the replay. So if you are logged in, if you're watching, I would love for you, as always, to put your name in the comments and just say what state or country you are watching from. So put your name in and tell us what state or country you are watching from. This is Sharon Gill, Purpose Center Leadership and Entrepreneurship, and we're going to talk about culture again today, corporate culture. So if you are watching, hey Jack from Georgia, thank you for stopping by. Hi Erica, Miranda, thanks for stopping by. I don't know if you guys caught the title today, but it said, why are CEOs hiring people for culture change? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And is your company in need of a culture change? Because that's just the buzzword I'm seeing across my feed in the job postings. And so I wanted to just talk about it a little bit more. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Militia. Hi, Gina. Glad you guys could pop in. Hi, Carrie from South Florida. Yeah. Hi, P. I won't pronounce that name, but hello from India. Hi, Sid from the UK. Hi, Angela from California. Glad you guys could stop by. Today, I'm talking about corporate culture again because I have been seeing all these job postings, even from recruiters reaching out, looking for COOs and for others who can help the CEO with culture changes. And I'm just seeing that theme across my feed, in my inbox, in recruiters, in headhunters. And so I wanted to talk about it a little bit on today's broadcast. Hi, Karen from Chicago. Hi, Eric. Sandeep from India. So I'll give another 30 seconds and then I'm going to jump right into it. So we're talking about culture and we're talking about why the need for all this change, right? And I'm seeing more of that since the pandemic ended. And there's a lot of reasons. I think I can theorize a lot of reasons. One of the main things that I'm noticing, of course, is that because we are no longer working the way we used to work, in other words, we were all under that brick and mortar, less remote, more brick and mortar. Now with the hybrid system, and in some cases, complete remote work, there is such a static, right? And I think if you guys have been keeping up on this, so employers, it seems for the most part, would want, hi Flo, how are you? Employers looks like they want the employees back in office. That seems to be what they're really thinking. But the employees, of course, do not want to sort of go back in office. There are some employees who want that camaraderie, who want that in-person thing. But for the most part, employees do not want to go back to the office. I know I personally have two millennial kids, right? 27 and 28, and they both have they've been given two amazing jobs, but they're remote jobs, and they don't want to go back to the office. So this has been a dilemma. So I have been approached, like I said, by some headhunters. I'm seeing this in my feed where employers are looking, especially CEOs are looking for remote COOs or anyone who can help them with this culture shift, right? And so the question is, who needs a culture shift? Is it everyone? At this point, I'm thinking that it's going to be the majority of companies that need to look again at their strategy, right? Because before you can have a culture shift, you have to look at your strategy, right? You have to re-strategize. You have to look at your current mission and your current vision and decide, does this current mission or does this current vision still work in the post-pandemic hybrid remote work? It truly it may work generally, but it doesn't work in the details, right? Because now we we're having the issue where how do you treat the workers who choose to stay at home, and how do you treat the workers who choose to work from the office, right? Is there going to be preferential treatment for the ones who work in the office? And is there going to be also resentment for the ones who stay at home? It's a lot going on. It's so much going on, and I'm seeing this across all industry. I mean, faith-based, um, bottling, big companies, small companies. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere because there's a dynamic going on. So a company has to, at this point, look at their mission or how they execute their mission, because how they did it 2019 is not going to be how it's going to be done in 2021. For example, one of the things that have come out of this pandemic and this remote work is, before, time clocks are going to go out of business, right? Because it was all about clocking in and clocking out for a lot of companies, right? That's not really effective right now. So now companies are having to change how they measure productivity. Is it 9 to 5, or is it 2 to 10 p.m.? What is it? Is it outcome based, or is it hours put in, right? So there are so many challenges that are happening right now. And so if you are a CEO, right, or if you're a manager, or if you are anyone in charge, you have to look at how are you doing business now, right? How are you going to get to your goals? Because it's not going to be effective if you have the old playbook from 2019. You have to throw that out pretty much. And yeah, you may be one of those people who need to wave that white flag, that CEO, which I'm seeing a lot of CEOs just being humble about it and saying, look, we need help. We need help with culture change. And you can't just change a culture of a company overnight, right? What is culture? It's the way we do things around here. That's what a company culture is. It's the way we do things around here. It's the way how we handle everything, how we handle time off requests. It's the way how we handle people who take maternity leave. It's the way how we handle Fridays. Is it going to be a potluck day? Is it going to be a casual Friday? I mean, culture is the way how we do things around here. So what happens to that Friday potluck, for example, when there's no one there except two people, right? How does a culture shift in that case when you have 75% of people working home and 25% in the office? This is the reason why CEOs are dying at this point, because they have inherited a hybrid workforce and they were not prepared for it. All right, so let me just take a pause, take a breath, and see what some folks are saying. Jesse says, makes so much sense. Why head back when you can work from home for 18 months, producing so much more than previously? That is the issue, Jess. Jesse, people don't want to head back, and they don't want to spend gas money. They don't want to spend money for clothing, and they don't want to do it. And so it's an issue. And Flo, so the other question is, are you looking for a long-term change or short-term? Long-term will require change in the company vision, as you stated. And Flo, the truth is, if you are a CEO, right, you're never thinking short-term, right? You're thinking 1 to 5 years. You're thinking 5 to 10 years in your strategic plan. So you got to take out that strategic plan, right? You got to dust it off that shelf again, and you got to say, whoa, our 10-year strategy, which we're now 4 or 5 years in, is not the right trajectory for right now, because it's a whole different staffing situation. Not to mention, right, that it is now an employees market, right? Salaries have gone up, at least from what I'm seeing. And I base this on what I'm seeing, and also what my 2 kids are getting paid, right? Salaries have gone up. People feel like they have more choices now, right? And so as an employer, the days of inflexibility, right, are over, right? Those days are over. And that's why so many CEOs are saying, hey, culture change, we need help. And Flo says, the other question is, Are you looking for, oh, sorry, the same question. All right, so let's see what Jack said. What does a customer want? Like the employees. So the quicker the customer makes up their minds on what they want, then the employees will then shift. All right, so here's the thing, Jack, that's true. Customers are also employees too, right? So I think our collective consciousness, right, as a society, as a world, and especially because here's the truth in the back of all our minds, is the pandemic really over, right? Because the news keep telling you about these different strains, these different things happening, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So is the pandemic really over? So in the back of people's subconscious is like, well, why get geared back up to go back out to we have to go back home? So even the customers are getting more relaxed in getting served from someone on a Zoom call or not in the office. No one's going into the offices anymore to go see clients, right? Or go. I mean, it's a different ball of wax at this point. Let's see. Sid says, I think by now most companies have built a strong trust with their employees to the point where it should be working from wherever the employee is comfortable to complete the day-to-day task and if there is any kind of improvement. I agree. So for example, Sid, and I agree with what Sid is saying. So how do you train managers now? Here's why culture changes is so important. How do you train your manager now to review the team when they can't see the team members? Right? See why there is such a big need, why CEOs are saying, someone come, please help us. We have to have a culture shift. Because the way how managers would review their employees, that metric is through the window. Managers have to be retrained. You see this book behind me that says it's the manager, that Clifton, Jim Clifton book, where everything is placed on the manager. It's kind of true, right? So managers, your first line of leadership, they have to be retrained. To go from employee A gets to work at 8:55 for their 9 a.m. shift, and they leave at 5:30 for their 5 p.m. departure. So they're a great employee. That has to be thrown out. That was the old culture. Now we have to train managers that employee B or C or D is given this task to accomplish by Friday, and they have it done by Thursday afternoon. It's a whole different metric, right? So let's see what Eric says. So Eric says, let's embrace change. This is a win-win situation. Low running costs for the company and less expenses for the employees while increasing productivity efficiency. And Eric, I agree with you. And but there's some CEOs, there's some leaders that are stuck in their thinking, in their mindset, right? They're not letting go as easy. But like I said, there are many, though, who are saying, look, I don't have the capacity or the capability to bring this culture change in. So I'm asking for help. And I'm seeing a lot of those postings out there now for COOs and other change agents to come in to help the CEOs to rethink the strategy to make it more fair. Flo says, with the advancement in technology, measuring report employee performance should not be difficult. It's not. Many people are on these project management softwares right now where you can see how your employees are working. Everyone's using cloud servers, so you can see at a glance how everyone's working. So it's not really hard. What is hard is the mindset, right? Is if you're stuck in a 2019, 2018 mindset. And this is one of the reasons, you guys have been seeing me advertise about, joining our leadership community called Communally, right? And the link is at the bottom there, leadership community. And what I am trying to do is to get leaders and managers and rising stars together in a community that we may have to break down into some cohorts, but there's so much retraining needed, right? And you could try to do this on your own, or you could do it in a community of other leaders and managers who are trying to get it done. And, I have almost 30 years experience in leadership myself, and I'm blessed to have a lot of colleagues who are professors in leadership and others who are working in the space that want to share with today's leaders. I mean, my personal mission is to just help develop great leaders because as Maxwell says, John Maxwell, everything rises and falls on the leaders. And as those of you who follow this page, you know, I also believe that managers, right, are leaders. I mean, we want to put them in a category and call them just managers, but managers are also leaders, right? And so I've created this community called Communally, thanks to my husband for giving me that name. And that's what we're trying to do. And so I am inviting you guys, right? It's very low cost, but it goes beyond just this, you know, live broadcast here to where we'll have weekly trainings, right? Also, as a certified Maxwell coach and trainer, there's a lot of great leadership resources that he offers that I want to offer to the members of the community group, right? Where you can learn the latest in leadership, plus from my own experience and from the other presenters' own experience. So I hope you guys check out Communally. It's sharongill.com/leadership community and be part of, you know, the 21st century leadership, because leadership in our time is changing. Remember when leadership was changing from authoritarian to more participatory, and that was wonderful, and to servant leadership, and that's wonderful. Now it's like we have this hybrid situation going on, and the leaders really need new skills to work with today's employees. Not to mention too, right? We knew that having the Gen Zs in the marketplace, in our place of employment, was going to be a challenge regardless. Now, Gen Zs plus post-COVID plus the subconscious fear of another outbreak of some sort. And this is a worldwide problems, my friends. And so leaders have to be so much more agile now, right? So much more adaptable. And that's the reason why I created this community. And so Jack says, I think there are savings for employers when working from home, and that should allow some flexibility. But sales for pest control, construction, manufacturing, and confidential finance, travel, etc., is still not a high percentage that can be done remotely. Those that can shift in financial services and do it well first will gain. Those that do it poorly will lose their customers due to quality concerns. You're right. Not every industry, as Jack says, can pivot as quickly. But even those who can pivot as quickly have to do some type of pivot, right? Even if yes, a pest control person cannot work remote, right? They have to go into people's homes and they have to spray, right? To spray the pest. But that company's back end has to be a little bit more efficient so that they can cut down, for example, cut down on in-person meetings for their workers and have maybe more what you would call not really necessarily Zoom, but have more meetings where they're using cloud servers or something, right? Where they're using software, for example. Technology is going to be huge for managing today's workforce. Those of you who were afraid of technology, right? Now is not the time. In the last 15 months, I have learned so many project management software because I'm trying to keep up with my own clients. I have adopted Google's entire, Drive and Forms and you name it. And I'm a Microsoft Word junkie, right? And I know Microsoft has their own Microsoft Teams and stuff. So get on whatever you're comfortable, whatever your team is comfortable with. But that's where we're at now. No more desktop saving, no more come to the office, right? Everything is like, it has to be portable, has to be mobile. Barbara says there's also the question of team feeling, belonging, and connection that are connected with loyalty and motivation. That's becoming a big topic and headache for leaders. Barbara, that is the issue. That is why the CEOs are looking for help, because they don't know how to keep team feeling going, right? They don't know how to keep that team spirit, bonding in this new hybrid space. But I have to tell you, Barbara, that I have been working remotely. My clients are all over the country, right? And I have never met them face to face, but I feel like I'm part of their team. I work with their team, and their teams are also splintered as well. Some are local, some are even in another country. But there are a lot of tricks that you can do to keep that team feeling. There's so many innovations. One of my clients just had a birthday, and there was a program, a software that someone came, told us about, that we were able to all sign her birthday card electronically through the software. It was the coolest thing. Not to mention, there's so many other things that you can do. You can still send gifts from Amazon to your team, to your boss. I mean, there's so many things. It just requires a new strategy and a new mindset. I actually jotted down three things, right? Um, After the CEO comes up with what's going to be our new strategy, there's three I's that I was reading in this book some time ago, right? That's going to have to get your team on board. And I was going to end with these three I's, right? Inspiration, first I. After the CEO says, okay, this is going to be our new strategy. We're embracing hybrid. We're going to have a hybrid workforce, and we're going to have to look at how we deliver our services differently, right? So the CEO gets together with other leaders and they figure out, okay, here's our thinking and how we're going to deliver our services or our goods. But first, to get the culture to change, right? Inspiration, first I. The team has to be inspired to make the change that are needed for the organization. So how do you inspire the team? Right? Whether the team is at home or the team is in the office, the CEO has a new strategy and has to inspire the team. And you inspire the team by information, communication. Inform the team of what the changes are going to be, and they must be given the tools and the training to execute these changes. So you gotta inspire them. And inspiration means that they gotta see the vision with you, buy into the vision, really buy into you, buy into your vision, and then be informed, be trained, be given the tools, right? So now they're bought in to the vision, to your new strategy, and that, hey, we have to change the way we do things around here. What works in 2019 won't work in 2021 and beyond. We got to change how we do things. So they're inspired, they're bought in. Now they have to be informed how we're going to get it done. You got to get them the tools. And then third, and of course, most importantly, which is where a lot of companies fail, implement those changes. So we say, we're going to do things differently. We're going to adopt these new policies, and we say it, but then we don't follow up in the implementation, right? So we have to inspire the team, inform the team, give the team the tools, the training, etc. And then you have to implement. You have to implement. And a lot of leaders and managers, they just fail with this, right? And now they're feeling so overwhelmed. Razan says, answering the question of the signs that a company needs a culture change. One, if employee engagement is low and there's a high turnover, bingo. That's one, right? So do you need a culture change? Engagement low, high turnover. Two, lack of support from leadership. And you know why we have a number two, Razan? We have a number two because leaders are so overwhelmed and they're not trained sufficiently. And they're using an old playbook. So lack of support from leadership, those are the buckets I put them in. They're using an old playbook. They're overwhelmed. They're underinformed. And so they can't give you what they don't have. Number three, not nurturing your employees' individual purposes is autonomy and mastery. Razan, you hit the nail on the head with that one. When I work with clients, leaders have to be retrained. They have to be retrained because nurturing employees is work. It means that you as a leader have to really have an interest. You have to love your team, love your people. And so that's work. Four, a lack of establishing an environment of psychological safety. Big one. Again, that's because leaders aren't trained. They're not properly trained and they're not investing in themselves enough to keep up with what works. And number five, not fostering a culture of learning. Big one. Big one. And number six, having a culture that supports and does not penalize incivility in the workplace. Well said, Razan. Well said. And and it's the reason again why I have, created this group, called community. That is the reason, because I'm seeing I'm seeing lovely leaders. When I say lovely leaders, good people, decent people, just doing it so wrong. They're just doing it so wrong. They're not mean. They're not mean spirited. They just don't know. They just don't know. And so I'm at 26 minutes. I said I wouldn't go beyond 30 today. I just wanted to jump on it because I was off for 2 weeks. But I've just been seeing so many requests for corporate culture change. And someone, earlier said, do we need to change or do we need to adjust or modify? Either way, change or modify. Modify might be easier because it's maybe easier to modify. And maybe modification works, but either way, you cannot stay the same. And so I'm inviting, if you're a leader on this call or a manager or someone who works in HR, I invite you to check out what we're kicking off in the next 2.5, 3 weeks. Community is going to be a community that gives training every week, once per week, where we may work in cohorts, depending on how big the group gets, where we will exchange best practices, where either myself or one of my guest, trainers will be in the group teaching on things like culture change, team building, how to create team camaraderie in this hybrid environment, upping your leadership skills, communication skills, right? As Rajan said, how to love your team, how to love your team members, how to show that. When do you need to, maybe add what I would call a chief compassion officer to your team? Because if you may just be a leader who don't have compassion or empathy, right? But recognizing that you don't and getting that into your organization. And so, and a lot of other topics that come up, right? Just in day-to-day leadership. So I will continue to look at your comments in the feed. And I thank you so much for jumping on and joining us. And I hope you guys will check out that link, sharongill.com/leadership community. I'd love to have you as part of our community group. And I will continue to answer questions after the broadcast ends. If you're watching this and it's not 2 p.m. Eastern on Monday, your team replay. So just do #team replay and I will answer your comments in the feed. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next Monday. Take care.